I'm on live.
Okay, here we go. Here we go. We go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yet another episode of Hey Roma. Had a hell of a week. How about you, Roma?
Yeah, hey, listen, hey Roma. It's Friday, baby. And I'm sure everybody by this time, hopefully you're out of work. Hopefully you had a good week. If you didn't have a good week, it's not our fault, but I'll tell you what, if you didn't have a good week, you're going to have one now if you're watching this podcast. That's guaranteed.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. There's a lot of stuff going on, man. I mean, there's so much stuff going on, Roma. I don't know if we can cover it in an hour. There's so much stuff going on, man. I mean, between Trump and Biden and the illegal immigrants coming into this country and what's going on, I was watching. They interviewed a woman on the news, and she actually had a shotgun, and she was pointing it into her backyard because there were three illegal immigrants in her backyard. She said, "Leave, or I'll kill you." And they smiled at her.
Well, they didn't understand what she was saying.
Well, maybe not, but you know what? I think there's a universal language when somebody's pointing a shotgun at you. You know what I mean?
I would kind of, but you know what? Maybe from where they came from, that's kind of an everyday thing, right? They probably point them at one another.
Listen, I don't know, man. Big Daddy tells me that a bus pulled up to the Holiday Inn in North Haven and dropped off 300 illegal immigrants.
I heard that was also the case up in Wallingford.
Wallingford, then. It wasn't North Haven, it was Wallingford.
Yeah.
And it's like, and then I hear, listen to this. I hear Tyson Chicken is letting go all of their employees to hire illegal immigrants for almost nothing.
To save money, huh?
Yeah, when I say almost nothing, I mean they have to pay at least minimum wage. But
Right.
if you've been with Tyson Chicken for 25 years and you're making, I don't know, $42 an hour, they're replacing you with somebody for $15 an hour.
Well, listen, that happened way back in the day, with the Irish when they were bringing the Chinese over and, building the railroads and working in different factories and things like that. And the Irish didn't stand for it. I mean, it was hell in California. That's really where it all went down.
You don't want to mess with the Irish.
No, and according to, what I understood, they're a bad group. I have Irish in my family. Italian family married into Irish. That's a hell of a mix. But you know what we didn't do to start off this podcast? We didn't shout out to the right people. That's Roma Nation. That's Mancini's Maniacs. And where in the world is? And that's for our veterans. All of our veterans.
Where in the world is for all our veterans. And where in the world is for people to get a hold of Stephen Lee. And Vietnam veteran, and tell him who you're looking to find, who you want to find, your brother, whether it was just, or even if it wasn't in wartime, you just don't know where he went, or you fought on the side of him for your lives, and you would really like to get in touch with him, or at least have knowledge of where he is, whether he's on Earth or not. Stephen Lee is going to be he's an integral part of where in the world is as part of the Hey Roma podcast. We definitely want to reconnect all of our military brothers and sisters, as many as we can, because it's a lot of what this show is about our military. Again, the first show we mentioned that Roma's father was in the military. My father's in the military. We have more than several guys who are wrestlers for Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling that are military vets. They're police officers. They're corrections officers. And these are the people we hold in high esteem and give a lot of respect for because they sacrifice themselves for the sake of others. And especially our veterans who fought for our freedom so we can go on a Friday night, grab a microphone and talk to you guys.
Right.
So as Roma said, which is one of the deepest. I'll tell you a little story. I was in a line of a bakery in Meriden, and I happened to come up on Roma's Facebook when he was down in Arlington, and he was walking around Arlington Cemetery, and he made such a powerful speech, and it went along the lines, and this is the way we think of our military. I know Roma does, and I know I do. You know, it's not the basketball players, it's not the hockey players, the baseball players, the football players that are supposed to be our American heroes, our heroes to our children. It's not the Michael Jordans of the world. It's those people who decided to go into the military, put a helmet on, and grab a rifle and risk their lives so they can come back to us and look us in the face and go, you know what? You're all right. Because I went there and made sure that you're all okay. You all still have your freedom because I fought for it. Sure. And that's the way it really is, because unless you could say you put on those combat boots and you went and you fought too, and there's thousands that can, and God bless you, but I can't. Roma can't. I didn't put on a pair of boots, combat boots, and a helmet and grab a rifle and go fight for my country. People did it for me. And you know what? Guess what? I'm extremely grateful for that. And I'm honored to be in the presence of any one of them. So I'm in a line at this bakery in Meriden, and a guy had a jacket on. He's a Vietnam veteran. And I started talking to him, and I said, hey, can I show you something? And he watched Roma's dedication to everybody in Arlington Cemetery, and he started weeping in the line at the bakery. And yeah, in the line, because it's the pretty popular bakery. You go there on a Sunday, you're going to wait. So we were in line talking, and I showed him Roma's video, and he was wiping away the tears. And I happened to text Roma, and he said, please tell him. I said, thank you. And I did. I said, Roma, you know, I took a picture of his jacket. I said, showed him your Arlington Cemetery speech, and, you know, he just said thank you. And what did Roma turn around and say? No, tell him I said thank you.
That's really it. That's really, I mean, we have this, you know, this format here, this platform, for lack of a better word, because of the people that fought so hard for us, that put their lives on the line. I mean, listen, we have people that are considered first responders. You know, they go out and they help people that have been injured. But as we are trying to swing this, the first responders are our military. Those are the people. Those are the ones that threw their life on the line, given it their all, didn't give it a second thought, went out there and done battle. And for that, we're grateful. We'll always be grateful here. You'll never hear a bad word come out of our mouths. Going back to Stephen Lee, there you have it. We will come up with, we want you to contact us for now, and we will get a number over to you. If you're looking for somebody, any veteran for that matter, we're going to do our best. And once this podcast really starts to explode, we are going to set up a number that you can call into, and somebody will answer, and we'll get you an answer back. Any way we can, we will find a way to find that person for you.
Come on, guys. We have the ability, if everybody would join us, to reach millions and millions of people for this purpose. Not for the hits, not for the YouTube, not for our military to get in touch with each other. You know what I mean?
You're finding a lost family member.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, everybody is family. You're fighting next to somebody side by side. You didn't know him going in.
No.
And now you're doing battle to save his life as he's saving yours, right? You're protecting one another.
Right, that's right.
And on top of it, you're protecting an entire nation.
Correct.
So, this is huge.
It is huge.
We can't explain how big this is.
We can't express enough the importance of completing this task. And I realize that we're just starting off on this. and it's like our fifth show or whatever, and I get it, but I certainly would like it to blossom into something really big, so our military can get in touch with each other. You know what I mean? I know nobody likes to talk about it or anything, but I really want you, because listen, it's hurt me in my life, it's helped me in my life, but I have a tremendous amount of empathy. In fact, I've been called an empath by professionals. Yeah, professionals. I've seen therapists. Okay, so I want you to just picture, okay, you're in camouflage. You're on your base. You're in the military. Okay?
You're away from home.
You're away from home.
Away from your family.
Away from your family. North Korea is testing bombs they come out and say, yeah, we're hoping this one reaches at least Alaska, but we're trying to get them to reach farther than that. You got North Korea saying that. There's a line with China, and they got their toe on it, smiling at us, going, we're going to step over it. We're going to step over it. And then we have billions of dollars going to the Ukraine, billions and billions of dollars over there trying to beat Russia. Russia's not happy with that because we're taking sides. And ring the bell. Who's supposed to be doing something about all of this? A guy that goes like this.
I mean, we don't have to tell you who that is. Come on, Sleepy. Wake up, Sleepy Joe.
A guy that called that a president that apologized to an illegal immigrant, and a guy in the murderer, and the victim that he murdered, he called Lincoln as in Abraham Lincoln. That's not her name.
Can't get it right.
So
the one thing he should have done was gotten that right.
Yeah. So
got everything else wrong. He should have gotten that right.
Right. So here we are, with all of these people looking at us, and I want you to remember something. I want everybody to remember something, especially the young people out there. Roma and I were around, we were very young, but we were around for the late 60s. We were able to comprehend, okay, the Cuban Missile Crisis that went wrong. Okay, the country has never been closer to nuclear war, and in the history of this nation, even more than the Cuban Missile Crisis. We have been around for the 70s, in the 80s, and the 90s, now listen to me, while the world looked at the United States and went, that's the strongest country in the world. You know what?
Facts.
You have social media? Tap into people into Russia, China, Japan, the Ukraine, England, Ireland. Ask them, do you think the United States is the strongest country in the world? They'll laugh in your face. Yeah. We've lost that status. We're no longer the strongest country in the United States. People are laughing.
Yeah, but
they're laughing at us.
But a lot of it stems from, administration, right? Yeah. How serious do you take our leader? And nobody takes him serious. And again, we got some responses about, people that like were hating on Biden. We got responses back, but at the end of the day, the truth is the truth. It is what it is. I mean, you skew the numbers to make yourself look good. You keep telling lies through all social media and all the media outlets. It's just a bunch of lies. And the idiots, they believe it. And the people that take the time to figure out, was my life better? Is it better now? Or was it better, 4 years ago? That's all you have to figure out. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that out. It takes common sense to figure it out. My life is worse now than it was a little over 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago. Gas was down. Employment was up. People of every other nation out there had respect for us. If not respect, they had fear for us, right? Now they're just attacking our military with drones and they're attacking our ship. They're doing whatever the hell they want because there are no repercussions, right? We got a chicken shit in office. At least, you know what? And here's the other thing. I'm sorry. Here's the other thing. Sometimes I think back and I say to myself, you know what? I just said something about him. But at the end of the day, is he really running the country? I personally don't think so. I get caught up in it. I get excited about, when I talk about it. But is he really running the country? Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, the guy's, he's been in office. He's won what, 365 days so far that I know of. He's been on vacation. That's all joking aside. Well, he's been on vacation for a year, and he hasn't even been in for 4 years.
Here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing, and trying to not get stabbed the next time I see my ex-wife, right? From born and raised in New Hampshire, lived in Massachusetts, so I don't want her to come after me with a knife, but is it really about Republicans and Democrats? It really isn't for me, and I don't think it is for you.
It's not.
But I have to call it as I see it. When I see us getting basically shit on.
Right.
Okay,
right.
basically shit on. And I go back.
And being told that, like, here's the old saying, ready? You're pissing on my leg and you're telling me it's raining.
Raining, right.
That's what's happening right now.
And I can't take it away from a president who looked dead in the camera and said, listen, if you do anything, make a move at all, I'm going to blow you off the map. I will bring so much destruction to you, you won't even believe it. And I'm watching the TV and I'm going, holy shit, Trump, oh my God. This guy's a lunatic.
But did anybody do anything?
No.
Exactly.
They were like, whoa.
Right.
So am I, in comparison, and it's really not Republican. Listen, JFK, let's go. Let's go. Like I said, the American people could say, you know what, I'm sick of both of them. Trump, Biden, I don't even want to listen to them. I don't want to see them. I don't want to hear their name. JFK could slip right into this thing.
Very well
you
could.
You know what I mean? Or some new great man or woman.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's fresh. That knows what they're doing. Who's smart will know what they're doing. So what is it? What do you want me to do? If you have A and B, and A is more of an evil than B, I'm going with B. Okay, and listen, if you're on the bench, okay, and you need a pinch hitter, are you going to go after Harvey, who's 42 and he has bad knees, or are you going to pick, Jared, who's 37 and has okay knees? Well, you know what? Biden is that old player, and Trump it's a good point. Trump's not that far behind him,
no.
But Trump has his faculties.
He does.
And you know what? My buddy, my friend, I want to meet him someday because I think he's cool as shit and he tells the truth, and he's a very smart guy, and I love his delivery, and that man's name is Tucker Carlson. I love Tucker. I love Tucker Carlson, man. I do. I love him. He's hot.
That's
shit.
what he had to change networks for that reason.
He got fired,
Yeah.
But he's got his own network, the Tucker Carlson.
And it's going great.
And I listen to Tucker, and you know what? He says the same thing. You know what I mean? And Tucker's like, the State of the Union, for as much as they shot up Joe Biden with adrenaline, they had to shoot him up with something because if you
he stayed awake. That was the first.
Not only did he stay awake, Roman, but if you really watch it, he was angry. His delivery was angry. He had a real chip on his shoulder. He was just one cranky guy. And that really isn't it's a surprising State of the Union. I mean, one person looked at me and said, listen, I don't care about politics. I don't care about Democrats, and I don't care about Republicans, but as an American, I think everybody is obligated to watch the State of the Union. It's about your country, present and future, and what they're planning to do and what they have done. And I think it's everybody's responsibility to watch it.
Right.
And I was joking with my daughter because at one point, Biden was making a point, and when he was making a point, he was going like this,
Yeah.
and I'm like, gee, who's delivered speeches like that before?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Our like I said the last podcast, is the design to bring us to George Orwell? Is the design to bring us to 1984? Are we going to use one bank? Is everybody going to wear the same clothes? Are we all going to eat the same food? Are we all? In what direction are we going into? If Big Daddy is listening, I would like him to at least chime in on a comment that we can feed off of. If he can make a comment at this time, I would appreciate it.
Right. And speaking of comments, we take them all, no matter what it's about. Next week, we're going to try to get a few people on here. We like to do one at a time, that kind of, bring everything together. Now, switching gears. We have a comment about what we think's happening, what's going to happen with the Vince McMahon saga.
Listen to me, Roma. Listen to me, Roma. Hey, Roma. Listen to me.
Right, go on.
Listen to me.
Go on.
Every morning, before I hose myself down in the shower.
And he does mean hose himself down.
Rhinoceros style.
Absolutely. I've witnessed it.
Because I've eaten one too many yodels. So I put on a podcast on Netflix. Shane Douglas was on.
I like Shane. Good guy.
Right. So the reason why I put it on is there was a picture of Shane and Pat Patterson for the advertisement.
Saw it.
Pat Patterson. I thought it was bad when we got ice water on our nuts. Pat Patterson pulled his pubics. What is that, man? When you just go up to somebody and pull their pubic hair, what is that?
I don't know. He had a lot of nerve. He really did.
Listen,
didn't care.
We were in that dressing room for a lot of years, man. I never had anybody come up and say, Pat pulled my pubics. Throwing the cold ice water while we're washing our hair so we double over in the shower and he'd laugh.
Staring at your privates while he's talking to you. I get that.
Right. He's standing at the shower smoking a cigarette looking at your dick. But, but get this. Pulled his pubic hair.
Yeah.
What is that, man? What is that? What the hell is that? Pat was still alive. I swear to God, I'd find a way to get a hold of him and go, Pat, what is that? What is that? What is a pulling pubic hair, man?
Yeah, and I want to address something. We just had a little comment come across. People are saying that we're looking for money. Talking about this, that is not the case.
What money? What are we looking for? What do we got? A WWE GoFundMe?
Yeah.
What money?
Listen, just like Nickelodeon, accusations. That's what we're doing. There's no money for it. We're just exposing what we went through. We're bringing out what others, and so have others have come out of the woodwork now. And again, as we said once before, this is just like the American gymnastics. There's no difference. Okay? This is being exposed now. It took one female, then another, then the entire gymnastic organization came forward.
The whole community.
They all came forward. Michigan, or it was Michigan State, they came forward. Okay? When Nasser got exposed, it was a snowball effect. Nasser's in jail. He's never getting out. So if you think this is for money, then you got to blame those females the same way you're blaming us, same way you're pointing the finger at us. It's not about money. It's about right and wrong and exposing the animal that he is. And that's just what he is. So get that through your head.
You know what, Roman? You were a lot nicer than I'm going to be. You know what? I get it. I get the allegation, but you know what? Listen, I can play this game all night. You want me to call Jimmy Hart? What, you want me to get up Tony Atlas in my phone? How about Bill Eadie? You want me to call the Honky Tonk Man? He's in here too. So's Greg Valentine. So's Brutus Beefcake. Who do you want me to call on my phone? Here's my point, man. Here's my point. Yeah. And I get it. We were there by choice, but you got to remember something. We put all our eggs in one basket, okay? That we were going to go there and we were going to have a career and make a decent living for our families. I wasn't, especially me, I don't know, Roma was carved out of stone. I know his aspirations were a little higher than mine, and rightfully so, because he had the best body in wrestling, and he was the greatest athlete I've ever seen in the ring. Okay.
I listen to this guy talk about me all day.
So listen, let's face it. Nobody climbed the ropes without any hands until you got into the business. You were the most agile pro wrestler I've ever seen in my life. Ladies and gentlemen, he holds the record for the highest drop kick in pro wrestling history. Not Argentina Apollo, not him, not the Kangaroos, not them. No, Paul Roma does, because he drop kicked Big John Studd, who was 6'10". When he drop kicked him, his left foot was on his forehead and his right foot was over his head in a drop kick. He holds the record for the highest drop kick in pro wrestling history. So obviously his isn't, he wanted to go a little farther than I did, but I still wanted to go, and do decently. And we put all our eggs in one basket. And did we have to? No. I went to trade school to be a carpenter. I could have just kept pursuing that, but I wanted to be a professional wrestler. That doesn't mean we had to be exposed to this stuff.
Right.
And you know what? We were there. And I'm going to say this again. Roma is sitting at this table like this. Well, guess what, guys? When Roma stands up to walk, Roma's still like this because he can't straighten out his elbows. Let him have his back towards you and go, "Hey, Roma," like the podcast. You know what? He has to turn around completely to look at you. You know why? Because he can't turn his neck. You know why? Because he broke it trying to protect somebody in the ring. Okay? Let's talk about his knees, the titanium he's gotten there. Let's talk about the bulging disc in my neck, the herniated one in my low back. I have no more meat in my left shoulder. It's bone on bone. When I go on a pec deck, it goes click, 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 loud. Everybody's looking at me. I'm embarrassed. Okay? We paid the price.
Correct.
And we could have went a lot farther than what we did. Let me give you a damn example of that I just found out last night. Okay? Just found out last night.
I know what it is.
Okay, listen to me. Listen to this. I was watching the territories. All right? I was watching the territories. I rather enjoy the territories. Okay? With Jake Roberts and Kevin Sullivan talking about Southern wrestling back then until Vince ate everything up. Well, this particular territories was about Hawaii. And it was about the split between the Hawaiians and the Samoans. Okay, and we all know about the Samoan dynasty.
Right.
And guess what? Guess who was in Hawaii that I didn't know? And they took this poor guy and they jobbed him out like Mario Mancini. This guy's name was Sivi Afi.
Yep, I know Sivi well.
In Hawaii, he was bigger than Snuka.
Yeah.
In Hawaii, he was Hawaii's Hulk Hogan. He was like wrestling royalty there. And from what I understand, an outstanding worker in the ring.
Well, he was tattooed from head to toe. Sivi Afi.
Like Peter Maivia.
Yes. And the story behind it was he had to get it all done in like one day. He had blood transfusions and everything else to keep him alive. And Vince, once he had it done, he had spoken to Vince and he said, "Vince, I can't get beat anymore once I do this because I'm like a king now, When he got back, to the States here, he was asked to do a job. And that was the end of his career. He couldn't do a job anymore because of what he just gone through and what it meant. It made him a king. He just couldn't get beat anymore. But the first thing Vince did to him was ask him to do a job. And he walked away from professional wrestling and the money that he had been making. So I just wanted to show you what kind of person he is, meaning Vince McMahon. Either you walk away or you don't. He elected to walk away. He walked away from big paydays. Sweetheart of a man. And I don't know what he's doing now, where he is now. Hopefully he's doing well and he's still okay and living. But just goes to show you a little tidbit of what this guy used to love to do to people. You know, promise them one thing and then do another.
This guy was an excellent worker. He had the body. He was very Snuka-like. He was and he's a better worker than Snuka. And they would tag him with, you know, somebody like me. And he'd go in and he'd get his drop kick in and a couple things. And then he'd tag a guy like me in and I would do the job. But or he'd go one-on-one with somebody and he would do a job. And this guy was revered. He like you said, he was a king.
Yeah.
You know, listen, Sullivan tells a story. It's a hell of a story where, you know, my brother said back then, he goes, he probably got cancer from all those tattoos. So High Chief Peter Maivia died at the age of 42. Okay. So his wife took over the wrestling organization, and she was very powerful, and people respected her.
Yes.
Okay. So Leah Maivia is by the curtain before Kevin Sullivan goes out, and he's working with Steve Iaffe, the heavyweight champion. So Leah Maivia looks at him and goes, "You're going over tonight. You're taking the belt." He goes, "What?" He goes, "I can't do that." She goes, "You're doing it. You're taking the belt." So he goes out there, and he starts, you know, getting into the ring, and he's looking around, and he realizes, if I do this, I'm not leaving here alive.
No, they're going to kill him. They'll hang him.
He goes, now Sullivan goes, "Listen, you have Samoan guys out there that are over 300 pounds. He goes, "You're not talking about fat slobs here. They're athletes.
Yep.
They're huge."
Yep.
He goes, "And they're fans out there watching." He goes, "I'm driving on the side of the road in Samoa, and these guys are taking their bare hands on a luau and just ripping the guts out of a pig and eating it right off the rotisserie he's going." Right?
Yeah.
So he goes in the ring, and the bell rings. He goes to take a bump. When he goes to take the bump, he pulls Steve Iaffe on top of him, and he looks at the ref and goes, "Count." And he goes, 1, 2, 3. He was in there for 15 seconds, and he got the hell out of there. Because the night before, they found cinder blocks, and the fans were breaking up the cinder blocks and throwing them in the ring at the wrestlers.
He would never made it out.
Yeah, no. So
he
and when he went in the dressing room, and Leah Maivia is like, "What the hell did you do? You were supposed to take the belt tonight." He went, "Yeah, not tonight.
Not tonight.
Not tonight." So
he knew his place.
So Steve Iaffe really, he was really something else, and he was. You're right. He was a great guy. I remember being in the dressing room with him and how kind,
always polite,
always kind of a real docile kind of guy,
low key.
Yeah. So he always was a really nice guy, and I tell you what, you know, I love Sammy. Sammy, I have my heart. Samoan Dynasty. But when we all knew Snuka killed that girl, and it comes out 30 years later, "Oh, gee, Snuka murdered a girl." Like, yeah, we knew that 30 years ago. Where you guys been? So Tonga Kid briefly took Snuka's place.
Yeah, well, yeah, he tried.
He tried. Yeah. He tried to run the angle with Piper.
Yeah, he was doing that flying.
Oh, yeah, and it just wasn't. But let me tell you something. A guy like Steve Iaffe, That would have worked. And you know what, guys? Let me tell you something. That just goes to show you Vince McMahon. I went up to Vince McMahon one time and I said, hey, Caesar. We called him Caesar because he was the ruler of the empire. That was his nickname.
Yep.
So I said, hey, Caesar, I have an idea. He rolled his eyes. What's your idea, Mario? Mario. I said, put the tool belt on me. Put the red hat on me. I'll be Super Mario Mancini. Now, I've been practicing an ass bump off the top rope. I jump off the top rope, spread my legs, and ass bump the guy on the chest for a finish, just like the video game. I don't want to pay Nintendo. It's too much money. Okay. It just goes to show you that he could have made a king out of Siviafi.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Listen, Vince McMahon can take a person who's 4'11", and if he promotes him right, and his promos are right, and he puts him over the right way, he'll draw money. Because that's what he wants to do, because he's going to push him. He could have pushed anybody he wanted. Anyone he wanted. You know.
True facts right there.
But again, and unless...
Well, but again, what these people have to understand is it was...
Get your pubics pulled.
Who you blew, It was one of those things. And look at it this way, and I'm sure a lot of people out there, you wrestling fans, don't get this, don't understand this. Maybe never even dawned on you. If any of you, you could write in right now, if any of you can name anyone that started out with Vince McMahon that became a superstar, let's hear their names. Vince always, for lack of a better word, stole talent from all the other companies. That's what he did. It was brilliant, actually, but that's what he did. Nobody was homegrown. For whatever reason, he just didn't want to push any homegrown people. So write in right now, and let's see who you come up with.
You know who you're going to come up with? You're going to come
Mario
up...
Mancini?
No, you're going to come
Paul
up...
Roma?
You're going to come up with... You're going to come up with Bruno Sammartino. You're going to come up with him.
He was in the beginning.
He was in 1962.
Right.
You don't forget this though. You could come up with Paul Roma because Paul Roma was homegrown in the WWF. However, Paul Roma and Hercules Hernandez should have been the tag team champions.
Without a doubt. True facts right there.
Should have been the tag team
not
champions.
Because it was me, not because it was Ray. It's because of what everybody else was saying about
and why weren't you? Because who came up with Power and Glory?
I did.
Not Vince.
Correct.
It wasn't Vince's idea.
Right.
So Vince is not gonna push it that far because he didn't think of it.
He didn't own the rights to that.
Right.
Name.
If he thought of it, then you guys would have been tag team champions.
Right. Like the Young Stallions.
Right.
We were supposed to get the belts until.
Right. So
little proposition was made and it was turned down.
But listen, Pat was all over Jimmy Powers constantly. Yep. So they might be able to say Andre the Giant because he worked under his real name for a while, Ruzanoff, and he might be able to say Andre the Giant. But look, you're talking about
a couple people.
We're talking about our day. We're talking about taking Hulk Hogan from Vern Gagne and AWA. We're talking about dragging Greg Valentine out of the AWA or Minnesota. Right. Ted DiBiase was the hottest
Stone Cold,
the hottest heel. You already had Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, homegrown.
Rick Rude.
You had Mean Mark Callis. All right, they came up with the character of the Undertaker. Okay. That's fine. But he was already established as Mean Mark Callis. But they made the Undertaker. Okay, right. Fair enough. Listen, the biggest example of him not taking a homegrown would be Mankind, Dude Love. What's his other gimmick? Cactus Jack. And you know what? Most of the time on the independent
producer.
right, that's why we have a producer. So most of the time on the independent circuit, he was Cactus Jack. And he brought that into the WWE. Tito Santana brought himself into the WWE. Mr. Wonderful was already Mr. Wonderful. Greg the Hammer was already Greg the Hammer. Right. Don Morocco was already
What about the Samoans?
Magnificent. Afa and Sika were already the Wild Samoans.
And by the way, talk about Afa.
Afa's sick. We love you, Afa.
Yes.
Pops. Always pops.
Let's talk about, we talk about Andre, and I love Andre.
I love Andre too.
Right? We travel with him so much, played cards with him, and just what a super nice man. Afa and Sika, you're talking about monsters of their day. That's what you're talking about here. But if you really knew them, they are, and sorry to tell everybody this about you guys, but you're a bunch of sweethearts, what you are. At least to us, you were that way. We've seen it with other people too, so we're not just speaking because of the way you treated us, with all the respect in the world and all the kindness. But, we've seen it with other people too. And we hate to blow your cover, but at this point in life, your cover's blown now because we did it. I'm glad that we did it. And we wish and prayers go out to you that, you'll recover well and stay with us a little bit longer.
Please, Afa. You know what I mean? You see Afa, you kiss him on the cheek. Another man kisses another man on the cheek. That's how much respect and love people have for Afa. Afa was a wrestling professor. I learned so much from Afa. It was incredible. House shows, he'd watch my match and he'd come back and go, "Kid, come here." And, I would sit down and we would just talk, except that one time when I skimmed that chop. I skimmed the chop on my opponent in the ring, and I came back in the dressing room. Afa goes, "I don't want to see that again. See, let me show you a chop." And he chopped me in the chest, and I left my feet and banged against the lockers. And he was looking down at me as I landed on my ass, and I looked up. I'm like, he's going to kill me. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. He's going to take my life right now because I didn't chop correctly.
And because he could.
Yeah, and he just looked down at me, and he said, "Do you understand?" I said, "Yes, Afa, I do." So, but Afa is the leader of that family. He has all the respect in the world. If anything ever goes wrong with Rikishi or listen, if I ran into, this is the God's honest truth. If I ran into Dwayne Johnson and I had a problem with him and we ended up not getting along, I'd call Afa. And I'd say, you got to call Dwayne for me. Because this is what happened, and he would call Dwayne and go, "What happened with Mancini?" You know what I mean? So,
yeah, but the chances of that happening, take somebody like Dwayne, it wouldn't happen. He has that respect. It's built in.
It's built. Dwayne, Dwayne is all his father, Rocky, all the
that's
Samoans.
The way it is with the Samoans.
Dwayne,
it's built in. It's respect.
Dwayne's got the whole thing, man. He understands the whole thing, and you know what? He is. I bet you, if you talk to him about his heritage and the lineage and his family long enough, I bet you he'll start crying right in front of you. I mean, that's how proud Dwayne is of the legacy he's from.
Yep.
He's that proud, and he should be. I would be. He should be.
Yeah, and what he's turned, as a wrestler, he's a great entertainer.
Yes, he is.
I've always said this, and I tell him to his face. Do I think he's a great wrestler? Not in the least. He's a great entertainer, though. And where he's taken himself, what he's done for himself.
Hollywood.
But it's incredible.
It is incredible.
I mean, he really snowballed.
He really did.
I mean, it's amazing. And, this may sound silly because I'm not his father, but I'm proud of the guy.
I'm proud of him, too.
And you can't say that about a lot of people.
And listen, Roman,
about him, and I support. his movies.
Well,
like everything that he does for the most part.
Listen, and he's nice enough because, ladies and gentlemen, you can see what you want to see, but Dwayne Johnson is coming back to WrestleMania. Let me compare it. In 1919, the Chicago White Sox threw the World Series for a Jewish mafia guy that was in cahoots with Irish mafia and Italian mafia. And they threw the 1919 World Series. Now, baseball would have been dead. I don't even know if we'd be watching it today. But who came in and saved the game? Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth, he saved baseball. So all of this stuff about Vince McMahon and his troubles and his the hideous things he's done and the press that the WWE is getting, they went to Dwayne. They went to Babe Ruth and said, you got to come in and get us over. We're in trouble. Yep. You got to come in and get us over. And he said, listen, no problem. He didn't say what John Cena said. No. I'm going to stand by Vince McMahon. Dwayne came in and said, okay. And that's the real reason why he's in WrestleMania, because he's got to support the company and kind of.
Well, he's involved with TKO.
Yeah. Oh, well,
so
yeah.
If he shows his face and he, for lack of a better word, backs them,
right,
it gives people in TKO a little more stability.
Right.
At least get your stocks, cash them out, and get out.
Right.
But, and again, that's he carries a lot of juice.
Yeah, he does.
And that's a good thing for him.
And you know what makes me the happiest? Really, because I'm not that envious guy. So if our producer called me tomorrow and said, Mario, if you need me, I'll be in like Caracas, Venezuela, because I just hit the Mega Millions. I'd go, Gabe, I am so happy for you. I am so happy for you, man. Good for you.
You at least bought him a ticket, Gabe.
Yeah, you know what? That's fantastic.
One-way ticket.
That's fantastic. Good for you. I'm happy for you. Then you have the people that are envious and going, yeah, I'm not that guy. I'm happy. I'm happy for people. Yeah. I am happy to say, and almost living vicariously through Dwayne Johnson.
I'm going to hit the Mega Millions tonight, by the way.
To say
you're not coming.
to say,
bringing Gabe.
Wrestling is secondary in his life to his Hollywood career. Wrestling comes number 2, man.
Actually,
where most of us.
Actually, it's here.
Number 3.
Yeah, you forgot.
Go ahead.
So, as far as I know of Dwayne, The Rock, his family comes first.
Correct.
Then.
Right. As far as financial dependence, he doesn't need wrestling.
No.
We all needed it. We all were struggling to make that payday. We were all struggling to get somewhere. Dwayne could take it or leave it because he's got Hollywood, and you know what? He's the biggest movie star on the planet.
He's invested well. He's done well.
He's the biggest movie star on the planet, and he doesn't have to rely on wrestling, nor does his body have to take that beating in order to make money.
Right.
So that I love. It's just like the rumors of Batista coming back. Why, man? Why do you want to come back? You know what? You were fantastic in Knock at the Cabin. Fantastic. Keep making movies.
Okay.
So
listen, I agree. You know, the Cabin, incredible. You told me to watch it. I watched it. Incredible.
Don't come back to wrestling, man. Make more
What's the
movies.
Other one? He does the space one. I can't remember the name of it, but you know, it just seems like he's going in the right direction.
Right. Stay out of the wrestling ring, man. Don't come back into this thing.
It's a mess right now.
It is a mess.
It's going to get even worse, I'm sure.
It is.
You know,
a mess.
I mean, between Vince and Stephanie and Triple H in denial and that he didn't know what was going on or nobody. Okay, whatever. But it's all going to come out.
And it's not only the WWE. AEW's in the shitter. Tony Khan doesn't listen to anybody. You know what I mean? They're losing millions of dollars.
Yeah, well, when you're making, billions.
Well, when your dad is giving it to you.
Well, I mean, listen, it's okay. Everybody should have a dad like that.
Hey, Tony, sorry, man. I know you get upset when people talk negative, but we called you, okay? Especially Roma. You want your company to do well, put wrestling people in it that know wrestling.
Listen, you know what I did? I gave Tony a call, left a message, didn't hear back. I'm not one to keep following up. That's just not me. I get the hint after the first one, and that's okay. But, Mancini's absolutely right. And as far as we're concerned, and that's all that matters because it's our podcast, you need to revamp. You need to take a good overhaul look at what's going on in your own organization. And it's not about because you're not going to run out of money. It's about being profitable and being stronger than WWE and anybody else that comes up against you. That's really what it's all about. It's about ego, man, at the end of the day. Ego.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, mine's bigger than yours. It's ego, baby. But you got to show me. You can't just tell me that yours bigger than mine. You got to show me.
Right.
And, right now you're not showing anybody other than the fact that you're not looking so good on the circuit there. And WWE, even, Impact and what was it? They got so many NXT and all these other ones. But anyway, when it comes down to it, it all rolls up to one nutshell. And he's got it going on. And you're still trying to find a way. Sometimes you got to keep the smarter people around you. That's what makes you look brilliant. And I don't think the people around you are too smart. So, but that being said, you want to take some questions? I mean, I think we should take some questions.
We have questions. Yeah. Go ahead, man.
There's a lot.
Go ahead.
So let's start from the top.
All right.
Let's see what we could do.
Somebody wants a weekly segment about local law enforcement.
Somebody wants a weekly segment about law enforcement.
We could do that.
Okay. Well, listen, we're going to bring on some of our law enforcement people, talk to them. I found it very interesting. As a matter of fact, I was just discussing this with somebody. They talked about, he shot that person and he killed him. And I asked that question to John,
who's a police officer in Paradise Alley.
Yeah. Yep. And he had said to me, this is how he brought it across. I'm going to bring him on and let him explain. And the way he explained it, it really brought a different perspective as to, I draw my gun, I don't have to shoot the man. When you're under that much duress and you pull that gun out, you have a split second to make a choice. Otherwise, you can end up dead and not that bad guy.
Right.
So, again, we're going to bring him on.
We'll bring John on.
Great question, great suggestion. But I already talked to him. I spoke to John, and he's ready to go. So we're just getting people lined up. But good one.
Next, for Roma, what were your dietary macros in your prime? I'm sure that all the folks out there want to be shredded and are wondering the same.
Wow. Well, I don't know if I could sum it up kind of sort of in, the best I can in a nutshell. So I was very into high in protein, low in carbs. I kept my fats out as much as I could. And again, a trace of carbs for the most part. Just 3 meals a day. People used to say, I eat 5 meals a day, 6 meals a day. No, I ate 3 meals a day. My body understood that that's what it was getting. So it took what it needed, got rid of the rest because it knew that it was going to eat at 3 particular times. And that's a very important message to send out there. Your body knows. So let's just say I eat breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then I eat at 1 o'clock. I have lunch, and then I eat dinner at, say, 5 or 6 o'clock. Well, my body knows that it's going to eat at those times, or at least close to those times. Well, if I get up really late and I sleep in, because I've been up late at night, and let's say I get up at 10 o'clock, 10:30, and I have breakfast, and the breakfast doesn't change, I'm ready to have lunch at 1 o'clock again. Because all my body knows is that it's lunchtime. And then the same thing for dinner. So, I could get into all kinds of detail. We don't have time for this. It really ain't the show for it. But that's pretty much what I stuck to was that. Yeah.
Hey, Mario.
No, it's Hey Roma. They could say Hi Mario, but it's always Hey Roma.
How did you choose your name, and why did you pick Hoboken? Is this Sinatra connection?
Yes. So my trainer was Tony Altamar, and Tony had he had a thing for flair. So when we were sitting on the ring apron, he said, "Listen, you're going to be from Hoboken, New Jersey, because that's where Sinatra is from." And I went, "Okay." He goes, "I know. He goes, "You need a wrestling."
Well, you look like Burt Reynolds.
Well, Burt Reynolds, yeah. So he goes, "Nobody's going to be able to pronounce your real name. No ring announcer is going to ever be able to pronounce that. So you need
Like
a wrestling name." So I said, "I have a wrestling name. I picked it out in the 8th grade." And because it was in the 8th grade that I decided I wanted to be a professional wrestler when I was 14 years old. So I said, "I already have a wrestling name." He goes, "What it?" And Tony Altamar talked like Mickey, but he didn't look a thing like him. So he goes, "What's your wrestling name?" And I went, "Buddy Lambert." And he goes,
He's a comedian.
"Buddy Lambert." So I took Nature Boy Buddy Rogers and the football player Jack Lambert,
Yep.
and I put the names together, Buddy Lambert. And he goes, "That name sucks." And I went, "No, I like it. I made it in the 8th grade." He goes, "That name sucks." I go, "Okay." He goes, "Listen, I know your mother's maiden name is Mancini." I said, "Yeah, that is my mother's maiden name. My uncle's Joe Mancini. You know, I have Mancinis in my family." And he went through every Guinea name you can think of. Tony, Guido, Giuseppe. He went through every Italian name you can go through. And then he said Mario. And he goes, "That's your name. Your name's Mario Mancini." And he went over to the radio behind the desk in the gym, and he turned it off. And everybody working out on the floor just stopped working out because the music stopped. And it went silent. And he pointed to me and he said, "Anytime anybody talks to this kid, his name is Mario Mancini. You call him Mario." And that was it. That was the birth of Mario Mancini. So.
Oh.
Mario, did High Chief ever have negative things to say about Vince?
Chief Jay Strongbow or High Chief Peter Maivia? I never met High Chief Peter Maivia. My as I always say, my second dad was Chief Jay Strongbow, and you know what? You're not going to catch any of those agents until years later on the phone. Chief would tell me the truth, and Chief would talk about somebody if he needed to talk to somebody in a negative way. But while I was in the business with him, in the dressing room, you would never catch him talking negative about another agent or about Vince McMahon at all.
No. Taboo. What else you got, big guy? Another good one. Another good question, he says. It's got to be a good one. Here we go.
So Bruno Sammartino.
Oh, that's a Mario Mancini question.
Because they said Bruno came from Vince's dad, meaning is this actually Vince McMahon homegrown, or is this Vince's dad's homegrown?
Well, when you talk, they're McMahons, right? So it's the same company, and it's the same thing. Bruno, the rumors of Bruno benching 565 pounds back then, it was unheard of. And, he just started training to be a wrestler, and, they brought him in. You got to remember something. Sometimes people are in the right place at the right time. Later in my life, and it breaks my heart to say this, it really does. It actually hurts me. Was Bruno a great wrestler? No, he wasn't. He wasn't. He was a brawler. He wasn't a technical wrestler. He was a brawler. But you have to remember something. When I say the right place at the right time, back in the early 60s, mid 60s, late 60s, New York City was predominantly Italian. So who better to fill Madison Square Garden than a heavyweight champion from Italy?
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. You have to remember something, that Roma and I got in on the tail end. So there was still USA. There was still the Iron Sheik. There was still Sergeant Slaughter, USA. Duggan, USA. You still had Volkov from Russia. But, back in the 70s is where you had Baron von Raschke from Germany. You had Nikolai Volkov from Russia. You had Bruno from Italy. You had Ivan Putski, the Polish power. So
Well, people could get behind them.
right. So the 60s and 70s wrestling was all about your ethnic background, and
Right.
and as the mid 80s to the late 80s came, that kind of philosophy faded away.
Yeah. But it still works today if they try it.
It works for you, Roma, when you write those storylines. That's for sure.
It sure does.
2 questions left.
Two questions. 2 more questions, people. That's all we're going to take.
Somebody's asking me to be louder. Can we get a sneak peek at next week's guests?
Get a sneak peek at next week's guests. Well, I could tell you this. We're going to bring, hopefully, remember now, we like to book them. And when we do book them, it doesn't necessarily mean something doesn't come up. Now, do we think that it should be more important than this podcast? Absolutely not. But it can happen for whatever reason. But I like to bring on our young man who I brought up, I think 2 weeks ago now, something like that, who is, and I always get this wrong, it's not motocross, but he will explain to us just what that is. We'd also like to bring on Mr. John, a police officer. That's what they asked for. That's what we like to give them. And if we can also get a military man who fought Desert Storm, I believe, Desert Storm it is, we like to bring him on.
Yeah, so, we have a Desert Storm veteran that's with Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling. What I'm really looking forward to is bringing on the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, because
he's a hard guy to get knocked down, right? I mean, you got to jump on this guy. We got to hold him down.
Listen,
we got to bring him in here physically.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
Big Daddy's a busy guy, number one. Number two, you got to catch him at the right time.
Yeah, he's got a bad attitude a lot of times, doesn't
he? You just got to catch him at the right time. You know what I mean? So
I'm only kidding, Big Daddy.
So
I hope you're watching. I know you're watching.
So the reason
he's pointing at me right
now. The reason why I would like to bring him on, because when we do bring him on, ladies and gentlemen, all hell's gonna break loose. Listen to the name. The Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy. If you don't think, for the first time we've been on the air, that all hell is going to break loose on this podcast, it is. And I have news for you, and I have news for Big Daddy. I'm not alluding to what he thinks. Now, in the early days, because Big Daddy is an expert at the podcast, in the early days, he did like antics. He liked the feather boa. There's so many serious things going on in this country, present day, that the mayhem that you're going to see is actually going to be for real. It's not going to be a show. Big Daddy has a lot of opinions, and by him being so close to me and talking to him for the past 5 years, it honestly, talking to Big Daddy is like talking to the present day Nostradamus, because everything that he predicted 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it's all come true. Be on a lookout for this in the next year, Mancini. Mark my words, this is going to happen. And sure as God made green apples, it did happen. So, when it comes to politics, when it comes to illegal immigrants, when it comes to these people on the precipice of wanting to blow our country up, right down to pharmaceuticals, right down to the price of eggs, and security in your own home, you're gonna, you know what? He'll blow this place up. He will, you know what I mean? He'll go off. So for the first time, if we do have the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, on this show, just prepare yourself, because you're in for a wild ride.
We may have to put him in between us.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you're in for
Sit him right
yeah,
here.
you're gonna have a wild ride.
If he
when
gets a little
comes.
out of control,
He
we're gonna
does
have to-
get out of
we're gonna have
control.
to, maybe put some
Listen,
chains on
he
him.
does get out of control.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, cuff him down.
Yeah,
Gag 'em.
Yeah, there's no doubt. But you know what it's equivalent to, so the fans understand, or the people watching this podcast. The only thing I can tell you, as close as a description I can get, it will be like having Lou Albano on a podcast.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it would be like having Lou
Yeah, I can
Albano
see
on
that.
a podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just without the earrings in his cheeks.
Right.
and,
Right.
in his
No,
face.
he does have a hell of a goatee, though.
He does have a hell of a goatee.
He does.
Smart man.
Yes.
Yeah. Doesn't know when to shut up sometimes, but that's okay. we're going to shut you up, Big Daddy. Only when it's time. We're going to turn you loose, though. It's going to be okay.
If he had to push both of us out of the screen, we'll be falling on our sides.
He will.
And Big Daddy will be going, and another thing. You know what I mean? So
Let me say this about that or whatever.
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah, man.
But
No. Get ready.
Fun times. Man. It's going to be fun times.
It will.
You'll see.
Strap yourself in, because it's going to be a wild ride. Finally.
For Paul, it was Strongbow that we were talking about before. So
Okay.
Yep.
lot of chaos with when we're talking about Big Daddy. A lot of people are very excited for that.
Good.
A lot of people also want to see PAPW talent on. But finally, the actual question. Paul, can you talk about Mr. Fuji? Did he ever try to get you a push from Vince?
Wow. So yeah, let's start from the top. When Fuji worked with me, trained me. I was actually leaving TV one day, and I said, I was leaving, and he said, "Okay, I'll see you tomorrow because there's another day of TV tapings." And I told him no. I said, "I'm done. I had enough." So he said, "Well, what do you mean?" And I said, "I'm done." I said, "I'm not coming back tomorrow. I've had enough." So I said, "Fuji, look, I look better than these guys. I could work better than these guys, and they're not doing anything with me, and that's not what I'm here for." So he said, "Well, let me talk to Caesar," which is Vince, and see what I can do. So if nothing else, he got me booked. And I was learning more and more while I was booked in a lot of these towns. So that was a big plus for me. It kind of took the sting out of getting beat so much. At least you could take care of your family. I mean, that's what it came down to. Take care of your family. Was he able to get me a push? No. Yes and no, I should say. So, yes, he got me a push as far as bookings, but no, he couldn't get me a push to get me, to that certain spot. It just was the way that it was until I came up with Power and Glory, and then things changed. But as Mr. Mancini said, we weren't going to get that push because, again, it wasn't their idea. They didn't put us together. I did. We owned the name Power and Glory. They did not. So, as it would have it, we let nature take its course, or in this case, Vince take his course, and then that was pretty much it. It all ended, for the most part, in France.
Vince does take his course. And from what I understand, he's pretty regular. He just has a hard time finding the toilet bowl.
I heard that.
Yeah, it's a hard time finding the toilet for some reason.
Something that I heard. So,
listen, thank you guys so much. We did run over, but we enjoyed your questions. We urge you to ask as many as you'd like. And here's the great part about that: whatever you ask, you're going to get an honest answer.
That's right.
Always. That's a promise.
So listen, let me end with this. To Roma Nation, get us out there, baby. We need you. We love you. To Mancini's Maniacs, get crazy. Send it out to everybody that you know. And you know what the best part about this is? You're going to give them something that costs them nothing. And they're going to enjoy it. It's like telling them about a great movie, and then they get on, they go, "Hey, that movie that I watched that you told me to watch, it was great." This is the same thing, but only better because it changes from week to week to week. So we love you. We'll see you next Friday.
Safe
Merry
weekend.
Mancini.